This is World Comics Review, and I've been rambling, so I'm going to reshoot this. Now I've got some tea. Here's a gigantic cup of tea. There's no Sports Direct in Japan, so that's the best I could do. But yeah, I had a cold recently, as you may have noticed in my previous 2 or 3 videos. So a bit of a headache, kind of tired, and kind of rambling. Anyway, let's get on with it. This is the Shonen Shoujo Tankai, or the Boys and Girls Tankai. This letter means sea or ocean. From May 1937, or Showa 12, Showa Juni. So yeah, and pretty ordinary, typical Japanese monthly story paper for the time period, and unusually for the publications of this time it actually has a price on. So this is cost 30 sen. So back in the day when 1 yen was worth a bit more, a yen was split into 100 sen. So this was 30 sen or 0.3 yen. Couldn't happen today, of course. Today this is 1 yen. Not particularly substantial little coins, and yeah, apparently if you get a completely still glass of water and very gently place it down, these coins will actually float. Never managed to do it. And this is, yeah, in somewhat mangled condition. So it only cost 800 yen from Mandarake, which is a helpful segue. So a lot of Japanese cities have kind of an otaku district, several of which have grown out of kind of old electronic appliance and radio districts. So in New York, before the World Trade Center was built, that area was called Radio Row. So I spilled some tea. It's annoying me. That area was called Radio Row and had a lot of electronic shops. And yeah, Japan still has districts like that, which have also morphed since the 80s and 90s into otaku districts with a heavy focus on comic and anime merchandise, figure, trading card game, and those sort of shops. And the 2 most famous ones are in Tokyo, called Akihabara and Nakano Broadway, which is like the indoor Akihabara. And yeah, Nakano Broadway is absolutely dominated by Mandarake. There's probably more branches of Mandarake in that one building than there is in the rest of Japan can put together. Yeah, Osaka has 2 branches of Mandarake. One in Umeda, which is the area around the main Osaka station, and one in Namba, which is right in the middle of the main part of the city. And near to Namba is Osaka's otaku district called Denden Town. Yeah, Denden Town itself is split into 2 kind of pieces, although they're really close together, called Otta Road, which has been changed into Otaku Road, although I think it was called Otta Road before then, and that's just a happy coincidence. And line notification. Turn off my Bluetooth. So yeah, this Otta Road and the southern section of Nipponbashi Suji. So weirdly enough, Denden Town doesn't have a branch of Mandarake in it until next month. Bought I got this paper with it, so they're going to open a Mandarake on the 12th of December, or Saturday, in Denden Town, part of Nipponbashi Suji. And this means Grand or Chaos, which is the name of the Mandarake in Namba. So I don't know if that Mandarake is moving, or if there's going to be 3 branches of Mandarake in Osaka after this new one opens. But anyway, I work Saturdays, but I guess maybe Sunday I'll take the body cam down there and cover the opening, see if I can get some bargains too, and do a haul video afterwards. So yeah, that's the new Mandarake opening news. Anyway, back to the Shonen Shoujo Tankai. Let's get it out and have a look through it. Okay, got it out, and be pretty careful with it, as you can probably imagine. Very carefully. So we have some baseball adverts, and yeah, this opens with a lot of nicely. Oh no. So this is how the contents pages in these old story papers looks. Lots of vertical writing, also horizontal writing, which you read this way, and some sort of long illustration as insects and transportation, steam trains, motorbikes, cars, aeroplanes. Oh, there's the club dentifrice there. Dentifrice is like a powder toothpaste, so tooth powder. Yes, some pretty nicely done and well printed coloured plates. This is watercolour or coloured ink, Sumi Air ink that's coloured, I'm not sure exactly. So yeah, these are scenes from some of the stories inside the paper. So this is the one brave samurai fighting the bad guys who have captured a woman, and his bard friend playing a tune as he fights. A wash-coloured plate of a guy parachuting out of a plane. Some people in a little is it a sampan? These kind of outrigger dinghies with a small sail against a modern patrol boat. Another samurai story. Might be another scene in the same samurai story actually. A guy in a western looking setting wrestling. Yeah, these are all from the stories in this volume. Yet another samurai story, a guy with a sharp bamboo stick and a sword fighting while outnumbered. And a high school or university student tackling a ruffian in a park and throwing him in a river. Some adverts for air rifles and cameras, and a mouth organ, harmonica, and yeah, it's quite heavy on the comic strips for the time. Guy juggling. Well, oh, panels go this way. Yeah, they always had to always numbering the panels in these older Japanese comics. You never know which way they're supposed to go. So yeah, horizontal Japanese was read this way, but vertical Japanese goes this way, so you're never sure which direction the panels go in, so they have to number them all the time. So this goes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and this one goes 1, 2, 3, 4. This one goes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now this story runs along the bottom of all the comic pages. Okay, appears to begin on panel 2. Okay, anyways, sumo wrestler throws a boy at his mother. The little boy has to push his dad in a toy car. This one's still going. This means stop. Tomare. Guy shooting a catapult at a bird, and it bounces off and hits the guy in the face. Someone's playing football maybe. Hits his dad on the head. Looks like a Dennis the Menace's dad from the American Dennis the Menace. Taxi driver in trouble still. Somebody riding on a bike with a string hanging off the back that trips over a kid, but a sumo wrestler stands on it and makes him stop. More antics in a taxi. Blah blah blah. This is King Taro. He's a famous figure from Japanese mythology. It's a little boy who just wears an apron with this gold letter on it. And he appears to have met the rabbit from Alice in Wonderland. Someone in a house. Samurai Times comic strip. Another sumo wrestler, showing how strong he is by helping to push this wagon, but he pushes the load off the wagon onto the guy. And the taxi antics guy ends up, his child is taken by a giraffe. Okay, some adverts. The progress of the war in China, and Japan very briefly had a war against the Soviet Union around this time. So this is Manchukuo, the Japanese territory in China. This is China proper. Oh, the the Chinese Air Force with American volunteer pilots was fighting against Japan too. So this is the Soviet Union attacking Manchukuo from this way. Oh, I guess this is the Soviet Union too. Maybe this is nationalist China, or maybe that's the Soviet Union as well. The border was kind of fluid back then, especially in the Far East of Russia and China. So the Russo-Japanese War in 1904 was centred around Port Arthur, which was a Russian town at the time, but now it's well inside China. But a lot of Chinese people lived in Port Arthur even when it was Russian territory. So yeah, that's the war in Manchukuo. This is some more wash plates, American maybe. Plan to transport tanks, or possibly Soviet. Yeah, plan to transport tanks directly to battlefields on planes. Japanese Navy. Possibly the Maginot Line. It looks like the Maginot Line. Maybe it's in Asia somewhere. Maybe it's in China. I don't know. Sports. It doesn't look like sports. It looks like war. These look like Italian planes. Maybe. I don't know. Anyway, videos stills some films. I don't know if these films still exist. Yeah, more stills and films. Adverts for cameras, stationery, Shodo outfits. That's like the traditional Japanese writing that's still taught in Japanese schools. Advert for something else. New something, maybe dictionary. Alright, and this is the onto the actual stories. So this is a story set in medieval Europe somewhere, and we'll see that those coloured plates we saw earlier are additional illustrations for these stories. I don't know if this is a translated European story or one made in Japan. Samurai era story. And I think one of the one of the coloured plates with the guy fighting a lot of other samurai. One of those plates was an illustration for the story. This is the sea story. These guys are shipwrecked, I guess, or maybe they're on a long distance swim and they're being escorted by ships. This is the sampan, that story. That plate. No, this is another illustration of the same incident. A modern patrol boat stops their sampan. Is it called a sampan? I don't know. There's a long wooden boats with an outrigger that's really far out and a small sail. They can sail really fast. Ninja story. It's a old-timey naval battle in the Age of Samurai. Advert for a camera. This is a guess a Japanese guy in some Western Air Force or Naval Academy, possibly in England. Essex. Oh, Essex. Oh yeah. Eikoku. This is a ye, but it's only used in the logo of a beer company now. It's just been replaced by e. So this is Essex. I guess Honchachi. So I don't know what Honchachi is, but I guess it's a Naval or Fleet Air Arm Academy in Essex in England. And a Japanese guy goes there, gets challenged to a fight and uses jiu-jitsu to beats the British guy. It must be Fleet Air Arm because he's going in a plane. Doesn't look like any British plane of the time, but never mind. I suppose they could just Google image up a picture back then. Okay, another samurai era story. A ninja. This is the guy whose wife had been captured and he was fighting. Oh, this is the university or high school student tackling a ruffian who looks like a beatnik actually. Right, he's okay, the original beatniks were in 1930s Japan apparently. So yeah, this upstanding university or high school student. Alright, the beatnik's been stabbing some people, so yeah, he throws the beatnik in the pond. Mystery adventure story set in more modern times. Kaboom. Big explosion in the city, a terrorist planted a bomb maybe. Comedy story. Another samurai story. This video's getting way too long actually, I better start skipping along to the semi-interesting bit. Right, some more comic strips. I think this is one. Yeah, this is one long comic set in samurai times. Okay, another more modern day mystery or drama story. On a train or bus, I guess. Okay, another samurai era story. This is this guy's wife's been captured and he's defending his wife against a whole load of other guys. He takes them all on in a big fight. That was in one of the coloured plates. Is this the interesting story? Oh yeah, this is Arsene Lupin, the French gentleman thief character who is similar to A.J. Raffles, the British character who was also a gentleman thief, or the more modern Italian Diabolic, of course. So yeah, this is a Arsene Lupin story. I guess this is a colour illustration from that story. Is this France or Japan? Possibly France. Looks like the one of the old Doctor Who's. So yeah, like nearly just under half of this magazine is a Lupin story. An entire novel with many black and white newly made illustrations. A Japanese guy in the 1930s trying to draw France from memory or very small, a number of reference books. So yeah, complete translation of a Lupin novel. Oh no, there's another. Okay, that wasn't as long as I thought it was. Fairly long, but takes up a significant number of the pages. But then another samurai story. Okay, right, samurai fighting in a lake on boats. Okay, and we get to the end. What looks like a gigantic list of names. Back in the day in Britain and maybe in Japan, these story papers would always have their own kind of fan club, and they'd actually print lists of the names of all the members of the fan club. It would fill up a few pages anyway, and this is getting on for 320 pages. So yeah, got to fill up the pages with something, so possibly a list of names of the fan club members. List of other books from the publisher maybe. Jiu-jitsu, karate, whatever lessons. Kendo lessons and kendo equipment. Manga. Oh, manga. Something. This is a Sashi something manga. This is a archaic kana, no longer used. So yeah, something manga. And an advert for Guriko. So I guess a sports day. These are, I don't know, possibly a school sports day. So yeah, they eat Guriko something. And they tie for first place in the sprint, so they all get first. This is a Ichi something first place, and yeah, Guriko's like a maker of sweets or candy who used to claim they had health benefits, and in the 50s they made a mascot called the Running Man, and one of the main landmarks of Osaka is the big Guriko Running Man, which is still up on a wall somewhere in a dot-on body, which is like right in the middle of Osaka. Much like how Piccadilly Circus in London used to have the big Sanyo sign for years and years, but now they've just replaced it with one gigantic TV screen. So yes, this is the Shonen Shoujo Tankai, a kind of a unusual and rare, or at least I've never seen it before, 1930s story paper with a heavy number of comic strips too. Pretty interesting.